And we are back. So, last we left off, you guys just cleared a room full of enemies. There are dead, what we all know now as some kind of monks with severe mutations about them, lying in various states of death around this very circular, round room. You also have a dead samurai of sorts nearby at the altar, whose body is currently somewhat writhing as both of you glance over. You guys are both standing next to each other at this point. What are you guys doing in this moment, actually? As the flames are still they're starting to die down behind you. The blue flames are starting to die down. And with it, the tentacles are starting to wither as well.
Is the book still eating the scroll?
So, you glance over towards the altar itself. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
Okay, before we do that, actually, Seamus, you are currently bleeding out of your leg. You are actively bleeding, and until you staunch the flow, you will continue to lose blood quickly. So before we jump into anything else, how are we going to stop this? Because there's still a bolt lodged in your leg.
I don't... Would I have, anything on me after getting juiced up?
Oh, that's a good point. At this point, I need both of you
anything?
guys to make me endurance tests.
All right.
Ooh. Failed that one.
Do you want to re-roll it?
Sure, why not?
Go ahead.
I rolled a 12 out of 60.
Okay, so you're good to go. You feel the effects of the elixir drain, and with it, as your form shifts down, the muscles start to wither. You feel the unquenchable, unsatiable hunger rise up, but you keep it in check. You don't immediately lunge for the corpse at your feet as you did previously. You manage to keep yourself in check, though you are currently suffering from temporary starvation. So you are at minus 10 strength and toughness, which means you
Did
automatically...
we ever find any...
What? Go ahead.
Question. When we stripped those guys naked, did we find any food on them? I don't think we discussed it, but...
do not believe you did.
Okay, that's fine. Just double checking.
So unless you have food on you, you're suffering from starvation until you eat.
Old deer meat.
I think
you're
it's like
you're
day
right. You're right
5.
towards the tail end of it. Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you?
I would like to have some of that deer meat.
Okay. Seamus, did you pass?
I did. I rolled a 6 on that one.
Okay. All right. So you same thing as Marius. You managed to control yourself and not lunge for the nearest corpse. You're both free to eat your deer meat. After that horrible battle, I'm not going to make you guys make checks to see if you get food poisoning. But
no, thanks.
It's needless to say, it is not as appetizing as it once was. It's a little mushy, slightly disgusting, but the effects of the starvation wither as you do so. And Seamus, you were still bleeding from your leg, though.
Yep.
What are we doing about this before we continue further?
I'll sit down. I guess kind of like while we're eating, and I'll say, I'll look down at my leg and Marius, I think you know what to do. And I'll look for something that I can bite down on.
Okay.
I'd
Marius,
like to. Can we do it like we?
Yeah, we can do it like before. Make that the intelligence roll minus 10.
Yeah, intelligence. Okay. Let's see if I get lucky. I got a 12 again out of 36.
Oh, okay, good. Very, very good. So, Marius, this time, the room's very well lit. You're not out in the wild. You're starting to come down from your high from a moment ago, from almost certain death.
Yeah.
And despite your wounded arm, you've regained all feeling back in your fingers and whatnot. And uncharacteristically, Seamus, Marius pulls the bolt, and you feel it catch on something in your leg, but then he kind of wiggles it a little bit, and it hurts, but then he slides it back out of the wound. And
Nice.
there is pain, but you don't take any damage in the process. The bolt is removed. It is still intact, from as far as you can tell, but you are still bleeding actively from this wound. You still have one bleeding condition.
Oh, I don't have anything to staunch the wound, I don't think.
Does anyone have any kind of like clean cloth on them or anything?
Judging from just the state, I'm not going to make you roll from the room you're in. You get the idea that most of the things in this room are probably not very sanitary.
Okay. What about the guards outside?
You could probably maybe tear off some of their clothes and use that as like a makeshift bandage.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to go real quick. Sleeve, maybe that's not covered in blood or something,
Yeah. You guys killed them quick enough that they're probably, you could probably find like maybe some pants or something like that aren't too bad.
Yeah.
Rip up a few pieces to bring it back to bind Seamus's leg. I'm assuming you pick up your pack while you're out there, your gear.
Yes. I pick up my gear, the armor I shoved off.
Okay.
Strap back on, of course, Keep that
All right.
on.
Strap back on the pauldrons as you're walking back in.
Yeah. I try to staunch the bleeding for Seamus there if I can.
Okay. Yeah. With a bandage, even a makeshift bandage, it's just one bleeding condition. I'm not going to make you guys roll for it or anything. I'll just say that it is nullified, so you're no longer bleeding. But I will say that you do take at least one wound in the process of them going outside, getting the bandage, and then coming back. You've at least bled one more wound.
All right.
So whatever that puts you at. And now we are finally done with all of that good stuff. You've just bound Seamus's wound, Marius, and you are in this horror story of a room currently.
What's the writhing body doing over there? What's his deal?
So you go ahead and both of you guys make me perception checks.
Okay. Cool. I rolled a 96.
Okay. You want to
Say
reroll?
I failed. No.
Okay. How about you, Seamus?
I rolled a 51 out of 51.
Oh, just a success. Okay. So you guys both, even with failing horribly, Marius, you both glance over towards the altar. It's just maybe 20 feet from you, 15, 20 feet or so. You see that the body specifically of the samurai, the armor is being pulled towards the altar, but there's this odd kind of glow coming out from underneath it as the colors that are swirling around this altar are kind of flooding into it. But you Seamus, glance over to your left, or actually, excuse me, to your right, and you see that one of the monks wasn't quite dead.
Oh shit!
And it goes to move. This is the one with the cloven hooves that you thought was pretty much dead. And it begins to sit up, and then it just everything, all the life essence gives out. This is the one that you crumpled against the wall. Gives out, and oh no, excuse me, that was the one with the 4 eyes. Regardless, whichever one it was that you crumpled against the wall at the end, finally takes its last breath, and the colors and the kind of dome almost that was encompassing the altar begins to shimmer, and then it slowly just dissipates as if it was never there. And all of these squirming, writhing, almost like blood patterns and flesh that were starting to kind of gain new life and kind of weird tentacle shapes coming out of them just plops down, not moving any longer. And the body is cold and still.
Do the tattoos of the monks, are they like, is there a pattern to them as far as like, do they each have a unique tattoo?
They each have very similar, if you take the time to kind of glance over at them. There are obviously some kind of runes, possibly occultic in nature, from judging from the surroundings. Other than that, they look like just simple tattoos. Nothing too important about them, other than the fact that they might have some kind of chaotic influence about them. So it's probably best left not studied.
Okay. Is the book still eating the scroll?
Okay. Do you walk over to the altar at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. You walk up to the altar, and you will notice that the altar itself is made from stone. But the actual top of the altar and the 4 corners are encased in bronze. And the 4 corners of the altar, there's actually 8 corners of this altar, as it is in kind of a weird, almost star-shaped pattern with 8 points. Each of them is tipped with looks like a raven's head, made out of bronze. And there's a hole in the center of this altar where the light and everything was emanating from. And it is currently sputtering and looks like it's actually writhing and dying as if it was actually a living creature. On the altar itself, you see 3 things. First off, you see the book. It looks almost like a book you would see in the Empire. It is inscribed with symbols you would recognize from your scroll. It is bound in dark black, almost hide of some kind, of maybe some unknown creature or person, who knows, judging from this place. It is clasped shut currently with a heavy metal lock made from that local black spotted metal. So you do not see the scroll anymore, so you're probably under the assumption it is inside said book. On the other side of the altar, there is a stack of pages almost identical to that which you found in the Hellforge. Also inscribed on possibly, it looks like flesh, judging from the grisly remains of blood and some sinew that are still attached to the sides of the pages. Lastly, nearby, also on the altar, you see a skull about the size of a human, though it is missing its lower jaw, and a row of serrated teeth make up the top portion of the mouth. It also has a very strange protrusion growing from its forehead, almost like a underdeveloped horn, and the pigmentation of the skull is a yellow, almost brown. There is a single terrible rune that apparently has been grown, similarly to the horn, from its right cheekbone. Though the skull here is black and it smells of decay, and it is wafting from the skull in almost a morbid fashion. You can almost see waves of infection kind of emanating from the cheek. And they are positioned in a triangle around the open hole.
They don't appear to be doing anything right now. They appear to be inert.
So, interesting enough, as you approach Marius and as you begin inspecting the items on this altar, you feel a pull towards the book, specifically. And you glance down, and the scrawlings on the front of the book are obviously in some foreign language. You have no idea which one. It could be more than one language for all you know. And suddenly the letters begin to shift as you're looking at them. And it is now written in Reichspiel. And though you can read, you're not very well educated. And it reads the Liber Praenuntis across its cover, which for some reason it appears that it looks almost as if it was engraved in the black bound leather.
Seamus, what do you make of these items?
Well, they look like something you don't want to touch. I don't know, it's some type of book, but I can't read, so you'll have to read it. Read it to me. Nice bedtime story, you know.
Sure it's comforting.
That's
I think our scroll got eaten by that book.
yeah, and that's all fun and games, you know. It's a cool book and all, but what about that sword?
Good points.
Why don't you go over there and push it?
Oh. I'm gonna grab this book
come on.
first. I'm gonna try to grab the book.
Okay. So you reach out and your fingers touch the book, and it is warm to the touch. And you feel, if you could get a feeling from anything, from what you assume is an inert object, you feel as if the book is trying to strain to open itself, but it can't because of the lock in place. Do you grasp it in your hand? Yeah, almost like it's under tension, like it's trying to open, but it can't. But you grab a hold of it, and nothing happens. You just remove it from the altar. You're free to do with it as you will.
Yeah.
Are you going to stow it, or are you going to...
And this clasp is locked, right? Like, it's a locked clasp.
It's like, yeah, it looks like there's a keyhole on this clasp.
Okay.
Like almost like a solid lock is been put onto this book. Whatever rituals were put in place that were finalized during the combat encounter. And so this is the result of said ritual.
Oh, good. I'm great. Seamus, this book is locked. I don't think we can go home until we find the key and open this book. And I'll put it in my bag.
Okay. You place it in your bag. Is there anything else you guys would like to do?
I would like to inspect this samurai.
Okay.
See what he's got.
Okay. So you he's dead next to the altar. He was burned by some of the fire and, of course, the effects of the altar itself. But, you've been interested in him, especially the men that you've come across dressed similarly. They have various odds and ends on their person. You move down to him, and first thing you notice is most of his armor is completely ruined, with the exception of probably the mask itself, though it is covered in blood that possibly was writhing moments before.
Yeah.
You get the idea very quickly that there's probably nothing on his corpse. And you glance down at the sword that he had. And do you grab a hold of it? Because you see it laying by his side.
Yeah, and you said it's like a white sword.
It is the scabbard is pure white. As you grab a hold of the handle, you move to lift it up, and the handle just comes back in your hand by itself. There is black flecks of dust, almost where the blade should have been, inside, that begins spilling out of the scabbard itself across the floor. And it reminds you oddly of the discarded blades you saw inside the forge itself that littered the tables around.
Okay. So it's
You're
just
just
like,
holding. You're just holding just a handle in your hand right now.
a handle. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. There's nothing else peculiar about it besides just that it's
Besides that, it obviously was magical, or there was something
Yeah.
very magical and unique about it. There's nothing. There appears that whatever special properties it's had, looks like they died with the owner.
Oh shit!
Damn.
Now, Seamus, I don't think. I think this is something similar to your sword, but it's didn't look quite as durable. I don't know. This is it's ash now, and I guess I don't know if I kind of like lift it up so Seamus can take a look at it too.
Mm-hmm. And you can see Seamus. It's obviously the actual handle itself is longer than the one you have, as it's a two-handed blade instead of yours, just one-handed. But other than that, it looks rather unremarkable.
Then I guess I'll just kind of leave it. I guess just kind of drop it, unless Seamus wants it.
All right. You guys go ahead and do. Are you guys going to like search bodies, or are we moving on, or are we possibly inspecting more of the altar? Maybe pick up some more things off of it.
It's true. It's true. I'm scared about the other things. They sound scary. I want to at least go over the monks. Kind of give them a frisking.
Okay. Do you guys want to do this together, or do you want to do this separately?
I imagine with Seamus being low on health and a wounded leg, is probably just like sitting around pointing things out to Marius.
So go ahead and make your perception check, Marius, plus 10 with Seamus's aid as he is doing his best impression of like a foreman on a job site, pointing out where you should be as you do all the work. So
Look over there. That's a 36 out of 44.
Okay, all right. So just a success, a success. All right, so you begin combing over these monks, and you find not much at all on their person. You pat down a few of them, the first couple that you come to, the ones closest to you around the altar, specifically the one that you Gallaghered his head on the altar, all this spent like brain matter and whatnot. You've been going over him, and first thing you notice is he doesn't have any pockets. There's just no pockets on him. There's nothing. You pat him down, you don't feel anything. Then you move on to the next one. Same thing. It appears that these people had nothing on them, like they didn't own anything, or possibly their things are stored elsewhere in this monastery or structure, whatever you want to call it. And you find almost nothing among them, except the final one that died, the last monk that died. You make your way back to Seamus as you're checking all the bodies. You make it back to him, and you begin patting him down, and he has something tucked into down his right leg, somewhere halfway between like the hip and like the knee, somewhere in there in the middle in the thigh. And it feels like something solid. Do you reach your hand inside this dead man's pants? I want to hear you say it.
Hell yeah, let's get that loot.
Yeah, get that hand down in those pants. Got it. You're fishing around blindly,
Yeah.
you know. You reach your hand down in there. It's congealed with blood and whatnot at this point. And your hand closes around something. You pull it out. And it looks like a bundle of cloth. And you unwrap it. And it looks like a iron key. But iron isn't right. Maybe some other metal? That's the closest metal you can relate it to. Looking at
Does it fit in my book?
You immediately pull out the book and try to shove it in the keyhole, and it doesn't fit.
Okay. Seamus, I'm at a little bit of a loss here. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. I have an odd feeling about those other items on that altar. I don't know if we should take them or not.
Well, you never know. Just go up there and give it a touch.
How about you, Seamus? Try to give it a touch.
Oh, no, I'm not feeling too good right now. I feel like I need to lie down.
Seamus, it is at this time, Seamus, that with your previous perception check, you hear something. You hear almost like a rustling sound. It's very faint, but you just barely hear it, and it's coming from the direction that the two monks entered the room in later in the fight. There's another door further back that you get, the opposite of the way you guys entered, that is closed. But you hear something emanating from that direction.
Maybe I am starting to hear something though, so whatever we're gonna do, we might want to make it quick.
I would like to go over to the altar real quick.
Okay. You move up to the altar.
I'm gonna just say a quick prayer, Sigmar, guide me. And
Okay.
I'm just going
Go ahead
to
and make me an intuition test.
Okay. Ugh. 45 out of 24.
Okay. Sigmar has not granted your prayers. So go ahead and do whatever you're going to do.
You said the skull is like a horned
Yeah, there's almost like a malformed horn coming out of the
monster.
forehead. And there is you don't recognize the rune, but there's something growing and it's black out of this like disgusting, pallid, discolored skull, but it's almost like a hideous rune of some kind has grown out of its cheek, its right cheek.
I'm just going to take my pick and smash it.
You're going to attempt to smash the skull?
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead and make me a cool test.
All right. That's a 19 out of 60.
Okay, 19 out of 60. We'll keep that in mind. You bring the pick up over your head and then bring it down on this skull. This evil, malevolent thing. It's obviously evil. And as the pick approaches it, suddenly you have visions fly across your mind. Impossible visions of death and famine. Specifically, suddenly dredged up are these long lost or long buried visions of a plague doctor and your village.
Oh no.
Cold and empty. And you steel yourself, bring the pick down, And as it connects with the skull, you feel a bulge of tension as it's almost like you struck hardened metal. The pick glances off of the top of the skull, not even leaving a scratch. And with your strength, Marius, all the strength you had, you bring your pick back and glance up at the head of it, and there's a crack has formed at the base of it where it connects to the shaft in the metal itself. You get the idea that your pick has taken damage.
Pick? Jesus. Sigma. Seamus, let's leave this place. I guess I'm gonna head towards the other door.
Okay. Go ahead.
The opposite door.
Yeah. Seamus, are you approaching as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna go pick up my crossbow.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
follow.
I'm assuming you collected your crossbow already.
Okay.
I'm gonna just, because you salvaged what you can, I'm gonna say you managed to salvage one of your other bolts. So you currently have 2 bolts that you're free to reload as you're walking towards the door. You get to the door, Marius, and the door is not as elaborate as the one you entered through. In fact, it appears to be made from just simple wood. Nothing very crazy. If anything, it's kind of small. Seamus, you're probably going to have to duck down to get through it. But you go to reach for like the handle, and it's a similar to the one you came through. It's a ring to pull. And you pull it, and it doesn't give. It appears to be locked. And you see that there's actually a keyhole right above the actual handle itself.
We'll use that iron key.
Okay, you slide the key in, and it fits perfectly. Twist it, and you hear a mechanism unhinge itself, and the door pulls free towards you. It pulls open, and there is very dim light on the inside. You can see a hallway that leads to possibly some room at the end of it.
Guess I'll look at Seamus and just kind of nod and head on forward.
Okay. Who's leading the way? Is it you, Marius Wolf?
Yeah, Marius will probably lead.
Okay, go ahead and make me a perception check. Now, you have dark vision. It is very dim light, so just go ahead and just make me a straight perception roll.
Okay. Still not good. 63 out of 34.
Okay, do you want to re-roll it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead and re-roll.
So the last one, my last fortune. That's going to be 16 out of 34.
16 out of 34, okay. You begin making your way in. The first thing you notice is that the floor is slick with fresh blood. As you are walking down this hallway. Now, as you glance back, you notice that the trail of blood actually leads all the way to the altar. And now that you guys have spent time in this room and now in this hallway, you would have noticed that the altar itself, the 8 points of the altar, all directly align with one of those 8 statues. And there is just a subtle trail of blood that has dried over time, but at one point was fresh, leading from each statue to the points of the altar itself. Some bizarre rituals were definitely taking place in this room. But the blood in this hallway is much more fresh than anything you've seen thus far. Begin making your way forward, and there is an opening to another room. You step through, and there is no torchlight in here. You can see Marius. Seamus, you are blind as soon as you enter into this room, unless you ignite a torch or something similar. Are we doing so, or are we just continuing?
No, I don't think I have a torch, so...
Yeah, I don't think I have a torch anymore.
Yeah, you guys have nothing. So, Marius, you glance around. Immediately as soon as you enter into the room, you can see that this room is full of, it looks like metal bars, almost, is what you see. And you see a form nearby on your left. It looks like a humanoid form. It's not moving. But you glance back over your shoulder towards Seamus's, and you see that there actually is a sconce, and there is a unlit torch in the sconce itself, or not a torch, but a you know what I'm talking about.
A brazier.
Yeah, a brazier. There we go. A brazier's there. If you so choose, you could light it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You light it up since you are the only one that has the ability to do so right now. And as soon as you strike the flint and get it lit, it takes immediately. And as soon as that happens, you are looking through a set of bars set nearby to the left, and there's just a face staring at you, a human face.
Sure.
And you jump back a little bit, and the face kind of flinches back as well, and moves farther back into the darkness. And it's at this point in time that both of you notice that this room is it's full of cages. They line the walls, almost like a prison. And there are many moving, shifting forms trying to, appears, keep themselves out of the light. As you glance back towards the shape you saw towards the center of the room, you see what you think is a humanoid figure. You're not sure. It definitely is tall and has the right dimensions to it, but it is horribly mutilated. It is hanging by its wrists from two shackles from the ceiling. Similar shackles and metal as you guys were tethered together to as well, not so long ago. Probably a similar design, and you do notice that the figure is wearing pants, and they very much resemble. There's something familiar about them. They're very black, almost like thin studded leather, with interesting designs on them. But there is no flesh on the torso. There's no flesh on the arms. There's no flesh on the face or the head itself. But the eyes are open and they're almond-shaped. Even though there's no ears, you both would recognize the almond-shaped eyes as probably elven in nature. This might have been a dark elf.
Okay.
It's obviously dead. As you glance further around the room, the shapes are moving and shifting. Do you guys want to approach?
Can I see them with my dark vision, even though they're in the shadow?
You can kind of see that. You can see that they're humanoid shapes. You don't get like definition.
Okay.
There are varying sizes. Some big, some small. Some thin. Some not moving at all.
Oh, Seamus, I think we found the prison.
How do you think they got so many? How'd they get them all up here?
I don't know if I want to know. Does it look like a place that anyone should be forced to stay? And I grab the key and try to see if it unlocks the cages.
You approach the nearest cage. Are you going to maybe take something from the brazier with you? Try to kind of light up the area.
Yeah. If there's any kind of flammable object,
there's probably some.
light.
I'll say there's probably some nearby. What the equivalent of torches nearby that you can snatch up and get lit and bring them over to the cage, and you see that these cages are full of people. From what you can see, they look like people of Nippon in various states of either death or starvation, or a little bit of both. Most of them look beaten and bloodied. The current cage that you're at, most of the shapes aren't moving. And as you bring the torch in front of you, they appear to have died from their wounds. The few that are moving are kind of trying to scramble away, and the key fits into the lock. As it turns, do you enter, or do you pull the door open?
I do pull the door open.
You pull the door open, and one of the previous unmoving forms lurches to its feet and springs in your direction. I need you to roll some defense, sir.
Oh no. That's a 3 out of 50.
All right. You nimbly, I'm assuming you were rolling with your weapon skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you actually grab a hold of the figure's neck as it lunges towards you, and you grab a hold of it, and it's definitely a man as you close around the throat. And in the light, he has very distinguished features. He's obviously not a man of Nippon. And his eyes are kind of bulging in their sockets, and you can see there's dried blood across his face and across his tunic that he's wearing. And his hands clutch at yours as they're wrapped around his throat. And he's like, Sigma be praised. And he's like whispering his last praises to Sigmar before what he assumes is going to be his death.
I'll kind of slowly relinquish my grasp and say, Sigma be praised, brother.
And he falls to his knees, and he looks up at you, and you notice he has dark brown hair. It is shoulder length, tattered, and just caked in blood. And he is wearing the livery of Wissenland, and he looks like possibly a Imperial soldier. Obviously, on harsher times, all of his armor has been stripped from him. He has been beaten and cut and bruised, and he looks very malnourished. And as he looks up at you and recognizes two of you as not the people of this horrible, horrible place, just tears well up in his eye. He's like, "Oh, Shalia's mercy." And he just almost collapses below you, and he just kind of is sitting there almost in stunned, shocked silence as someone has finally come.
Oh, is he unconscious now?
He's not unconscious, but he is overexerted for sure.
Okay. Is anyone else in the cage doing anything, or are they just all dead?
There are several more moving shapes. There's probably 3 or 4 more people in here. They look to be men, but these are definitely Nipponese, judging from their clothing, and they are in a similar state as this man.
Okay. Seamus, would you take a look at this man? And kind of put the torch close to his face so Seamus can get a good look.
Okay. Seamus, I'm assuming you do this?
Yes.
Okay, so you get down close to him, and his eyes lock with you. And the first thing you notice is that he actually only has one eye. the other eye appears to have either been removed or bludgeoned in some way out of his head, as the socket around it is swollen and matted. But you can just tell that there's no eye left. There's no eyeball left in the socket. And his eyes are a deep blue color, but you lock eye contact with him, and a memory rushes back, Seamus. Go ahead and make me a cool test.
All right. That is a 34 out of 44.
Okay, with 1 degree of success, you see this man, this exact same man, though you see him marching beside you. You don't speak. You don't talk. You don't even make eye contact, but you recognize him. And a name enters your mind. Gerard. And then your vision is over.
Was he still conscious?
He is still conscious. He's just kind of overstimulated right now. He appears to be somewhat out of it. Perhaps a rousing speech or a good slap across the face might bring him back to reality.
Yeah, I'll give him a little slap across the face, kind of snap my fingers at him.
Yeah, you give him a good slap. Thank God it's not Mary slapping him, otherwise he might die. But you give him a good slap across the cheek, and he kind of shakes his head. And I know you.
Where do you know me from?
From the war. We were drafted.
Maybe you can tell us how you got here.
Sadly, my memory's quite fogged, it seems, but all I remember is entering into this hellish land full of these barbarians, these heathens. And I was captured amongst the others. I thought I was dead. And that's all I remember.
That seems to be a pretty common thing around here. You think you can walk?
That I can. I've been waiting for my chance to escape.
Say no more, friend. We are your chance to escape.
And he glances back into the to the cage, and he says something in Nipponese. And the other figures begin walking towards the open door.
At this point, are there other cages that I can unlock?
There are 3 more cages, yes.
I would like to start going and unlocking the others if I can.
The next 2 cages, also similar state. In total, you're looking at about 12 people. Mostly men. There are a few women. And there is a single child. They're all of Nipponese origin. So they are all in similar states. Very beaten, malnourished. Obviously weren't fed or given any water. Or very minimal water at that. The last cage you come to, Marius, the 3rd cage, the figure is... Well, actually, there are 2 figures, cross-legged, sitting in the center of this cage. You bring the torch, and you immediately recognize the attire as 2 sets of almond-shaped eyes lock with yours. And though you don't recognize them personally, these are definitely Corsairs, though they've been stripped of their armor and their shoes, their boots are gone, and any kind of weapons they may have been taken from them, and they have been beaten as well, though through their will, or at least their arrogance, they do not look like they are cowering down to your gaze, and they just look up at you.
Okay. Kind of look towards the cage and say, Long Ears, should I show you mercy? Would you do the same for me if I was in the position you're in?
And there's the one that stands up is a woman. She's very tall, about Seamus's height, very thin, very beautiful, very pale skin, the almond-shaped eyes, a deep black in color. Her hair is bound in like a top knot above her head, as well as the man. The man is the similarly similar features, though probably no relation. You think. You don't know. They're elves. What do you know about elves? But she stands up and approaches you. She takes her hand and places it around yours. Why don't we open this cage and find out?
Oh, Seamus. Do you have a vote here?
Afraid of a poor defenseless lady?
A poor defenseless lady broke my friend's jaw over there.
And she kind of chuckles.
Oh, is that funny?
Do you actually say that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, nay, Seamus.
Just do it. There's more of us than there are of them.
Unlock them?
Of course. What could we possibly do? And she gives a little smirk and nods to her companion, who stands and who is easily 6'8", maybe 6'9". Though he
6'9"?
is also 6'8", 6'9". Very tall, but thin. The elves are obviously thin. You probably outweigh this elf, Marius.
Okay.
So, but he is extremely tall, even compared to her.
I swear to Sigma, if you try anything, I'll kill you both. If one of you tries anything, I'll kill you both.
And
if you look
man,
if you look at someone wrong, I will kill you both. You know.
And the man just kind of doesn't. He's very stoically doesn't say anything. He just kind of just stare at you. The woman gives another smirk. Of course, of course.
Jesus, I don't believe I'm about to do this. Damn it! All right.
I want to look to the guy that I was talking to.
Okay.
So, friends, were you here before or after these people arrived? I'll point to the elves.
So Gerard, he looks like he's attempting to like speak to, and it looks like he's not fluent in the local language, but he at least knows he can at least speak enough to communicate on a basic level with them, and he's trying to get them to possibly leave this room, though they're very hesitant. And he glances back over his shoulder, and no, sir. They were brought in long. I'd been here several days at this point. They were brought in, and I will say this: their friend there, Haining, did not give in to the amount of torture and pain inflicted on his corpse. He died smiling. It was quite disturbing.
Marius, the one with the key. Do as you will.
And the woman will lock eyes with you again, Marius. Come now. Unarmed. One woman, one man. What could we possibly do? You have the weapons. You have the numbers. Surely you don't fear us.
Marius will take the key, and he will... I'm sorry.
will...
Did we... a DM question.
Yes.
Did we ever get the name of that elder elf we were walking with?
I believe you did.
Yeah, it's Venris.
Venris.
Yeah. A good call out. I mean, maybe Seamus, they're just as weak as Venris, you know. There's nothing to worry about if that's the case.
The man, suddenly his stoic expression, just kind of one eyebrow cocks, and he gives a hearty laugh. Which his voice is surprisingly soft, despite his size. You were expecting just a bellow, but it's not. It's almost whimsical. And the woman kind of snickers as well. I see you ran into that weak fool. His head was due for the chopping block.
That we can agree. If I let you out of here, we go our separate ways. We're not going to babysit you.
Babysit? Of course not. I wouldn't dream of being in your presence even more than I need to be.
Of course. I'm assuming next time I'll see you, we will be on the opposite ends of a fight, so... May Sigmar bless the winner, and I unlock the door and just kind of open it and kind of show them the door.
Okay. You unlock the door. She doesn't allow you to hold it in place. She immediately pushes it forward and begins stepping out very quickly, I might add. She's out unless you decide you're going to make a move.
No.
Okay.
Unless
she's out of the cage, and
Seamus or something.
Yeah, no, she doesn't look hostile. The man ducks out. He has to get crouched down pretty damn low to duck out from this cage. And he stands at his full height. His head's almost touching the ceiling. It's not very tall in here. And lead the way.
I point towards the door, the hallway, I guess. I'm going to make them go in front of us. I'm going to follow the...
Okay. You wish us to lead?
Gerard.
Interesting.
Well...
And...
I assume the other people are already out, right?
Yeah, they're out. They're out, and they're being corralled in that direction. So you want the elves to take the lead?
Yeah, I just want to keep my eye on you.
Okay.
And,
so the man actually steps forward and begins violently pushing the humans out of the way as he makes his way to the exit, just kind of pushing them to the side. And I'm assuming you're close behind.
Yeah, pretty close behind.
Okay, and at this point, Gerard has kind of got enough of a message across that, Seamus, are you going to be taking up the rear after these people? or are you following with Marius?
Probably the rear.
Okay. So you stay at the rear, and you begin walking forward. The elves crest into the open room ahead of you, and they give a look back at you, Marius. And they both quickly step through the doorway and slam it shut.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
All right. Are they
What
running?
do you do?
I kick the door as hard as I can.
Okay, you kick it, and it's not locked. It bursts open, and you see them ducking around the corner of the opposite hall that you entered in, and it looks like they're making a break for the exit.
Yeah. I probably won't chase after them because I know their speed is, probably
Okay.
superior. So,
All right.
we'll just probably shout out, "Fly away, little birds!"
Okay. All right. You have a collection of people in tow. At this point, Marius, as the rest of the people are starting to come into view, and they were kind of startled at you kicking the door in. You're in this very large open chamber now, this ritual chamber, and you notice that there's something a little different about this room. Something has changed since you were in here just maybe 10, 20 minutes ago. And you look at the altar. That skull is not there anymore. And the pages that were stacked neatly, the flesh pages, are scattered across the floor.
Okay. I kind of yell back to Seamus. "I think someone was in here, Seamus. They took that creepy skull and those pages."
Well, now's not the time for waiting. Let's get the fuck out of here.
I agree. And then I guess we just kind of try to make our way back through the fortress. I don't know if I want to explore with all these people with us,
Okay. I will say at this point, how about both of you make me an intuition test?
Okay. Ooh. Damn.
I got a
close.
51 out of 41.
I got
You want
a
to make it a success, Seamus.
Yeah, I'll make it a success.
Okay. How about you, Marius?
I failed. I got a 26 out of 24. Yeah.
Okay. So, Seamus, you're a practical guy. You guys barely made it up this mountain. You have no food left.
Mm-hmm.
You come to the conclusion, how in the hell are we going to get down this mountain with 13 more mouths to feed, in addition to our own? Surely there's got to be something around here. A kitchen, a pantry, something. Maybe these things had to eat. I don't know. But you at least have that little knack in your brain.
Kind of get Marius's attention, kind of whisper that to him. Well,
That's a good point. Good point, Seamus. Did he say his name was Gerard? Did he say that out loud?
He did not, but Seamus knows his name.
yeah.
Okay. I look towards Gerard, and I was like, "Brother, would you tell our friends here to exit out this hall and stay in this hall? I don't think they should stay in this room. There's something off about it. Stay in the hall while my friend Seamus and I look around for a canteen or a pantry of some sort.
And he nods and starts talking to the people. And one of them asks a question to him in their language, and he responds back. And then the person talks to him again, and then he turns around as they are beginning to file out of the room. This one over here, the younger one, he says that he was brought in through the back. He says he says he could lead us. He could tell us where a pantry of sorts is.
Oh, fantastic. Tell him to lead on.
Okay. I'm assuming you guys are following close behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make your way out of the ritual room, and you make a left in the direction of the guards you slew were walking. You begin walking in that direction. You turn the corner, and there are a couple more twists and turns, but you think this person is leading you correctly. This younger Nipponese, probably boy, I'd say. He's like probably around 12, 13. And he looks very assured of himself, and he freezes a couple times as you come across guards. But they're not moving. They appear to be dead. All of them that you've come across are dead. You come across them in pairs, sometimes 3 or 4. And they all have odd wounds across their bodies. Most of their throats are slit. Then some of them have odd puncture marks across their back and parts of their legs and arms. And all of the wounds have a black tinge around the flesh.
Does it look familiar?
Yeah, because it wouldn't... Well, no, it's been a few weeks. Go ahead and make me a intuition test.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a 79 out of 24.
You are not a medical person. You have no idea. I mean, they obviously they look like there's something off about the wounds for sure. But you're not exactly sure of the origin or if you even recognize it.
All right, cool.
But they are definitely all dead.
Yeah. Do they look like there's any kind of wasted movement or strokes?
You're not exactly like a soldier or anything of that nature. Though you have lots of combat experience.
I was gonna say, I've been in a few
You
fights.
have plenty. You have combat experience, but I wouldn't exactly call you a master of weaponry and skill.
Well, I'm Marius Wolf.
You're Marius Wolf. You are but a simple peasant miner. So I'm going to say that's probably beyond your skill set.
Okay.
But unless you want to do anything, the child is leading the way still.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Eventually, you come to a door, a wooden door, simple wooden door, and there is another lock on it.
Does my key work?
You put your key in it, the key doesn't work.
How big is this lock?
It's a simple lock, almost like a deadbolt, but their version of not a deadbolt. Their version of like a padlock.
Yeah. Can
Kind
I
of.
take my pick to it?
Yep, easily enough. You're strong as hell. This isn't some kind of ensorcelled metal like the chains that you are attached with. So you break it off easily enough, and the door slides like the doors inside some of the houses that you were in. It slides to the side, and as you glance in, You see lines and lines of shelves full of all kinds of materials, knickknacks, and baubles. And that's where we're going to end tonight's episode of Rise of the Forsaken. So we will find out exactly what is in the room when we come back next week. But
treasure?
You never know. You never know what's in there. You almost missed it, but you let everybody out, and Seamus almost didn't hear the whisper coming from that room. I didn't know if you guys were going to go back or not. So,
no.
We'll see. But man, good game, guys. Good game.
Yeah, it's great.
It's pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised nobody had to use any fate points.
Oh, it was close.
It was close. It was close. Don't worry. We'll get there. We'll get there. I just need to crank up the difficulty more, obviously.
No. I was down 7 health, you know.
I know Seamus is like on the verge of death. Marius, you're pretty hurt too.
Yeah, I'm only at 7 health.
Yeah, you guys are both pretty messed up. So we'll see how this goes. But favorite moments from tonight from either of you?
Oh, I spent most of my night missing monk attacks. So I did not have an enjoyable night. I caught on fire.
You did. You were bleeding profusely. Your sword kept you alive, though. That's a plus.
It did. I kept losing health and gaining it back.
Yeah, that was... somebody definitely needs to get the heal skill. I'm just going to throw that out there. That way you can patch yourselves up. But or carry a shitload of bandages with you and hopefully not get captured and have them taken away. But that's neither here nor there. How about you, Marius Wolf?
I think it was when it wasn't when he hit me, but it was when the samurai pulled out his sword. It was a blinding light, you know?
Oh,
that was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Till he hit you with it.
Yeah, until he sliced you with
until
it.
he hit me with it.
Custom weapons, boys. Custom weapons. They're pretty nice. But, unfortunately, that sword withered away to nothing. But you never know. Maybe there's something in this room for you. Who knows? But my favorite part of the night was lighting Seamus on fire. And him getting so very close to mutating into a follower of chaos. It's going to be great. So we are fast approaching that. We'll see how that resolves. But if you guys have made it this far in the episode, thank you very much for watching. I am getting tired. I know these guys are. It was a long session. But an awesome session. So we will pick this up next week. As usual, guys, I've been Jumbo Thick. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Have a good day.